This video comes first and foremost with an apology, since a fair few people have asked me to take a look back at Swansea City's starting 11 from their 2013 League Cup final success over the years, but I've always dismissed those suggestions because I was convinced that HITC Sport had already done it. It turns out that I was wrong. I know, there's a turn up for the books, so today I am much belatedly going to do it, although sometimes waiting a little while before doing a Where Are They Now video can make it more interesting. The 2012-13 League Cup was a fascinating year for England's second biggest knockout competition, including such classics as Paolo Di Canio's Swindon Town beating Premier League Stoke City 4-3, Arsenal coming back from 4-0 down after just 37 minutes to beat Reading 7-5 in an absolute epic of a match, and then brilliantly, of course, the Gunners throwing all that hard work away by getting beaten by eventual finalist Bradford City in the next round. Oh, and who can forget Eden Hazard kicking that ball boy. What a season for the League Cup that really was. I was rooting for Bradford at the time, since the League Two side were packed full of ex-Hull City players like Matt Duke, Nathan Doyle and Will Atkinson, as well as being managed by former Hull City boss Phil Parkinson. However, I was also a big admirer of Swansea at the time, who were playing brilliant football under Michael Laudrup, and the big Wembley pitch always favoured the Swans' expansive passing style up against fourth-tier opposition. And so it proved, as they ran out comfortable 5-0 winners, qualifying for European football for the first time in 22 years in the process. Anyhow, that's the backstory completed, no doubt much to the annoyance of people who hate my rambling introductions. But here is the Swansea City lineup from that 2013 League Cup final at Wembley. Where are they now? Gerhard Tremmel, Swansea City scout. Gerhard Tremmel spent 6 seasons at Swansea City, but none as the club's undisputed number 1, and only 2 in which he got any kind of meaningful game time at all. The 2012-13 campaign was one of those seasons, with a veteran German shotstopper making 14 Premier League appearances and 21 appearances in all competitions. He retained his spot as Michael Laudrup's cup keeper for the League Cup final, with Michel Vorm relegated to the bench, but in truth, his goal was relatively untroubled in a very comfortable Swansea win. Tremmel was released by Swansea at the end of the 2016-17 campaign, but he was offered a position as a scout, which he accepted, and it's a role that he still holds 3 years on. Rangel, Queen's Park Rangers. Part of an exclusive group of footballers with rhyming first and second names, alongside such esteemed company as Gianluca Pagliuca and Mahmoud Dahoud, Rangel was a sensational servant to Swansea City. The Spaniard arrived in South Wales from then third-tier Spanish side Terrassa, who are based in Barcelona, and he would spend the next 11 years occupying the right-back spot for the Swans. During that time, Rangel racked up some 374 appearances, putting him 15th in the club's all-time appearance charts, and the 37-year-old only left Swansea on a free transfer in 2018 to join Championship rivals QPR. SungYeung, free agent. In case you think I'm going through this 11 in some bizarre order, let me reassure you that Michael Laudrup chose to play SungYeung at centre-back in the 2013 League Cup final. The technically gifted South Korean international, who won 110 caps between 2008 and 2019, joined Swansea from Celtic for £6 million. He spent 6 impressive seasons in South Wales, even winning the club's Player of the Year award once, but his contract expired in 2016, leaving him to join Newcastle United on a free transfer. Following 18 months in the North East, Key joined relegation threat at Mallorca in January, but the injury-troubled 31-year-old left the club in June, making him a free agent once again. Ashley Williams, Bristol City. Swansea had a pretty settled side for a number of years with a deeply ingrained footballing philosophy, as this 11 shows, and Ashley Williams was one of the Swans' key men in what was a golden era for the club. At his best, around the time that he tried to kill Robin van Persie, Williams was among the best centre-backs in the Premier League, and Swansea had to fight hard to keep hold of him. It was a fight they finally lost in 2016 when Williams, following more than 8 years at the Liberty, joined Everton for £12 million. In truth, Williams never showed his best form at Goodison Park, and he did suffer a punctured lung in 2018. The 35-year-old now plays for Swansea's Championship rivals Bristol City, who he joined last summer. Ben Davies, Tottenham Hotspur. Swansea City did a few little bits of business with Tottenham during just a few summers, and on July 23, 2014, Ben Davies joined Spurs along with Michel Vorm. Meanwhile, Gylfi Sigurdsson headed in the opposite direction. Davies came through the youth ranks at Swansea, going on to make 85 appearances in 2 seasons with his boyhood club, before linking up with Maurizio Pochettino in North London. Davies is still with Spurs, still aged only 27, although he now plays under Jose Mourinho. Leon Britton, retired. A Swansea City legend and one of the club's all-time greats, Leon Britton, came through the youth ranks at West Ham, but from 2002 to 2018, he spent all but a single season with Sheffield United at the Liberty Stadium. During that time, Britton made 460 appearances and represented the Swans in all 4 tiers of the Football League, fitting in perfectly with the passing and possession-based style that became ingrained in the club from Roberto Martinez's arrival onwards. Britton retired in 2018, although briefly returned to action with Llanelli Town, and he has since held a variety of backroom and boardroom roles with the Swans, although he relinquished his duties as sporting director in September 2019. Jonathan de Guzman, Eintracht Frankfurt. A talented midfield playmaker, Jonathan de Guzman spent 2 seasons as a key man on loan at Swansea from Villarreal. Both club and player seemingly wanted to make the move a permanent one, but no deal could be struck, and in August 2014, Swansea's hopes were dashed as the Dutchman signed for Napoli on a 4-year deal. Now aged 32, the Canadian-born Dutch international left Naples in 2017, signing a deal with Eintracht Frankfurt, and he is still with the Bundesliga side. Nathan Dyer, Swansea City. There are a number of long-term Swansea servants in this 11, but only 2 who are still with the club in 2020. Tiny but rapid wide man Nathan Dyer signed for Swansea initially on loan and then on a permanent from Southampton in 2009, and he has been with the club ever since, with the exception of the 2015-16 season when he went on loan with Leicester City and won himself a Premier League title. Dyer is now in his 11th year with the Swans, where he has made 346 appearances. Pablo Hernandez, Leeds United. Pablo Hernandez spent 2 seasons with Swansea City in the Premier League, where he showed some nice touches, but hardly set the world alight. Now, his face adorns the walls of Leeds United fans' bedrooms, where he is heralded as the second coming of Christ. It's a situation which either speaks volumes for the gulfing class between the Championship and the Premier League, or the genius of Marcelo Bielsa, or, more likely in fact, a combination of the two. Hernandez, who won 4 caps for Spain during his time with Valencia, is now in his 4th season with Leeds, having won consecutive Player of the Year awards in each of the last 2 seasons. Wayne Routledge, Swansea City. Swansea City may have been known as a possession-based side during their rise through the divisions, but from Scott Sinclair to Wayne Routledge, they always had bags of pace on the flanks and the ability to stretch a game and get in behind. Routledge has lost a little bit of that pace now, somewhat inevitably, aged 35, but having bounced around a number of clubs during his early 20s, he has been with the Swans since 2011. During that time, Routledge has registered 277 appearances, but he may not add too many to that tally with his current contract set to expire at the end of this season. Michu, Real Oviedo Technical Secretary. Swansea City's talisman in that 2012-13 campaign, and possibly the Premier League's greatest ever one-season wonder, Michu, was something to behold that season. Snapped up following an excellent season in La Liga with Rayo Vallecano, Michu set the Swans back a bargain price of just £2 million. 2 goals and an assist on his Premier League debut against QPR set the tone for a famous campaign, as the Spaniard scored 22 goals in 43 games, earning international recognition from Spain and leading Sir Alex Ferguson to have a few words with his scouting department. Equally capable in attacking midfield or at centre forward, Michu was a tall, clever and clinical focal point for Michael Laudrup's men, and he bagged a customary goal in the final. Sadly, Michu suffered an ankle injury at the start of the following season, from which he would never really recover. He left Swansea on loan in 2014 and for good in 2015. He briefly scored prolific for Langreo in Spain's lower leagues before stepping up a level with Oviedo, where the pain became unbearable once more, forcing Michu to hang up his boots prematurely at the age of 31. He returned to Langreo as a director of football in 2018 before accepting a job as technical secretary back at Real Oviedo in 2019. So that's it for the Swans starting 11 that romped to a League Cup win in 2013, but I will give a very quick word to the substitutes that day. The first man introduced from the bench was another Swansea City legend, Garry Monk, coming on in place of SungYeung at centre-back. Monk spent a decade in the Swansea back line before replacing Michael Laudrup as the Swans' first-team boss. He now manages fellow Championship side Sheffield Wednesday. Next up was Roland Lamar in place of Nathan Dyer, a man who had only recently joined the Swans on loan from Osasuna. That move never became a permanent one, and Lamar has been a free agent since leaving MLS side FC Cincinnati in 2019. Swansea's third and final substitute, back in those halcyon days in which teams were only allowed to make 3 substitutes, was the late arrival of Dwight Tiendali as a replacement for Ben Davies. A versatile defender, Tiendali spent almost 3 years as a utility man at the Liberty Stadium before departing for Oxford United on a free transfer in 2017. The Dutchman spent just a season in Oxfordshire and has been without a club ever since. Swansea's unused subs were current Tottenham number 3 Michel Vorm, Curaçao international Kemi Agustin, who now plays in England's 7th tier for Miklova, forgettable Israeli striker Itzer Shekhter, who is now back in Israel playing for Maccabi Tel Aviv, and finally one-time England under-21 international Luke Moore, who retired in 2016 at the age of 30 following a spell with Toronto FC, and now apparently works as a football agent. Last, but not least of course, a quick word for the Swans manager that season, Michael Laudrup, who was once one of the most gifted midfielders on earth. Laudrup left Swansea to take up a lucrative post in Qatar with Lech Dyer, taking centre-back Chico Flores with him. Both have since ended their time in Qatar, Laudrup having been out of work since 2018, and Chico Flores now playing in the Segunda Division with Fuenlabrada. That is it from me today, ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely hope that you thoroughly enjoyed today's video. Give us a like if so, let me know your thoughts as always down below in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and why not tell a friend about the finest channel on all of YouTube. And yes, I am referring to HITC Sevens.